Welcome back to Luminary Talks. I'm Robb Thompson, and today we've got John Smallwood with us again. John is a wizard in wealth management and someone who really gets what it means to live an abundant life in every sense of the word. Now today, we're peeling back the curtain of 5 secrets that millionaires know. Not everybody knows these things. These aren't your everyday financial tips. These are the game-changing strategies that can truly transform your life and your bank account. So if you've ever wondered about the real differences between just making money and making your money work for you, stay tuned. This conversation could change the way you think about wealth forever. So let's get into it and start shining a light in dark places. I once again have the privilege and the honor to have John Smallwood back with us. Again, John, thank you. Thanks for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule to be able to talk with us about something that every one of us wants to face.
True.
We may not be the ones that are facing it, but with your help, I believe that we'll be able to do it. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and just how people can look at you after the podcast.
Awesome. You know, Rob, I want to say thank you. The first time I was on the show, it was an incredible experience for me. I think the conversation that we had about wealth management, the focus of people's futures, getting rid of their past, and just moving forward, I think was really an amazing experience. And the fact that we were able to do this today, I think, is absolutely incredible. I've been doing wealth management for about 34 years, maybe going on 35. It'll be 34.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, you kind of, and I feel like I'm about 25, so I can't really fathom the 34 years, even though I'm 55, soon to be 56.
No way.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
No. But I feel like what you learn and then what you apply to people, and then what you learn from the application of seeing people go through their journey of wealth management and then applying all those lessons back to your current circumstances is kind of the most important part of the whole entire process. From a standpoint of getting in touch with me, we have a website at smallwoodwealth.com. We have a 800 number, 800-797-1000. You can call us that way.
That's a beautiful number.
It is a beautiful number, and I never want to give that up, even though most people can make a toll-free call anywhere in the United States now without it.
Yeah, right.
But it is. I also have a book. It's called "It's Your Wealth, Keep It." It's an Amazon.
Now this is Now this here, I was going to bring it up later in the program, but John, tell us about your book. This is amazing looking.
Yeah, this was something that I always wanted to write a book, and I wanted to memorialize sort of my journey, in my entire journey, not just wealth management, but my father and I were partners for about 25 years, which I'm an only child. And I got an unbelievable gift to work with him every single day and really learn from what I truly believe he was a master, okay?
Sure.
In wealth management. And people and conversations, and it was really wonderful. We were a great partnership. I think we had 2 arguments in 25 years. Let's say the argument happened at 9 a.m. in the morning. At noon, it was like, would you like to go to lunch? Yeah, let's go to lunch. And it was like nothing ever happened. And we would laugh about it. We would focus on growth. We would focus on opportunities. We would take complex strategies, kind of argue for, and then switch roles and argue against, and then come up with a conclusion like, that's a really good strategy, or that's really horrible, right? And it was an interesting thing. Now I get the opportunity. 3 of my children have decided to jump into the wealth management firm.
Well, they're not doing it because you're poor.
They're not doing it because I'm poor, and they're not doing it because because of a lot of reasons. I didn't expect them to jump in. Do what you want to do, go explore life, be successful at whatever you do. When they expressed interest in coming in, it was absolutely flattering. But what I actually now get to do is to take, my father and I grew a business that was beautiful, we now get to do this again. And
Yeah, right.
and my vision is now far longer than what I was thinking about. And we're going to talk about that today, but that's really the interesting thing. So this whole wealth management journey.
Now they get to sing the song that you sang.
Yeah, and compound on what I've done.
Sure, absolutely.
And do it better.
Yeah, and they'll sit back and they'll go, this is how much money Dad made when he was really kind of in his prime. But man, we're making so much more now. And you're sitting back and you're thinking,
Interesting, right? And, with any successful business comes a team that surrounds you, right? So the team that we've assembled at Smallwood Wealth is the best I've ever had in 34 years. And we've had great people come and go. And in business,
Yeah,
you
sure.
get great people, they come, they go. But the journey that we're all on and the way we're attracting, clients, but we're also attracting great support staff to take us to the next level is the excitement that I currently have. Like it's a completely different vision than maybe I had 10 years ago. I mean, I had strong visions, but it's very different now in a lot of ways because of that collaboration, which we're going to be discussing through today too. And it's really interesting.
well, let's talk about millionaires,
Yeah.
or let's say people that because millionaires isn't really that big anymore because there are so many.
Right.
I mean, what is it? There's 2,781 billionaires in the world today.
Yeah.
As what the last yesterday's ticker that I saw. But speaking about millionaires, John, how do they think differently? What is it about them?
It's an interesting thing because to become a millionaire is actually really easy today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that people don't take the action to become the millionaire, okay? If you graduate from high school and you get a job, let's say, or college, and you have a job, and let's say you're making $50,000 per year, and you say, I'm going to put $2,000 into my retirement plan, the 401k, let's say, that I got a great company, and they're going to match dollar for dollar. And they're going to give me $2,000. And I take that $4,000 a year and never make a change to it. It's always $4,000. And I do that from 25 to, let's say, 65. And I make just around 7%. That's $1 million by the time I get to 65. That's not including inflation and increased contributions. If you're in the stock market, you could do better. But people don't do that. The amount of people that we see that don't maximize the free money from a 401k plan, meaning the match money, is unbelievable to me. Literally, I don't have any money.
Yeah, I had a trust back in my former life. I had a trust whereby anyone that participated in the trust, I had about 50 employees, and with anyone that participated in the trust, what I would do is that I told them, I'll believe in you and your family as much as you do. If you put in $500, I'll put in $500.
That's beautiful.
Because if any time that you have someone that is, let's say they're having a little bit, a guy that's making $50,000, he's having a little bit of trouble. He's not thinking about the future.
No, he's like worried
He's
about
thinking
paycheck
about
to paycheck.
yeah. And but the thing that I've noticed has been when people come to the place where their money is making money for them, they've gone to another level.
Yeah.
They're not seeing things as so finite. They're seeing things, from the perspective of, let's put this in John Smallwood's hands and let John Smallwood make me a millionaire.
Yeah.
And to trust, because you have your two pillars. You have your trust and you have your commitment. No, I'm committed.
Yeah.
I'm
And the
committed.
millionaire mindset, the distinction is people that have the millionaire mindset, which means I'm going to pay myself first and then I'm going to spend everything else after that. Versus when I get money, I will start putting money away. That mindset of when I get money will never actually ever accumulate any wealth.
That never comes.
Because there's always a reason why we're not going to invest. So that simple distinction, which is I have money today. It may not be the money that I want to be earning today, but I'm earning money. And I have to invest in myself in numerous ways. And by investing in myself, I'm putting chips on the table and keeping them and not making excuses for why I keep spending it. Okay?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's that shift basically is a shift. And it happens at 25, it happens at 45, it happens at 65. It happens at all different ages for different people. But that shift in that belief that I actually have money and the plan that I'm following, because everybody's following a plan, whether it's written or not, right? They might be following their brother's plan. They might be following somebody else's plan. Where is that plan taking them? And now is the time where you say, how can I go into this pocket of money and get rid of the waste and actually put the money aside and invest in my future? And when I do that, now I have a millionaire mindset.
So what you're saying then, just to kind of clear this in my mind, is that you're saying that a person becomes a millionaire internally long before they become a millionaire externally.
Correct.
So because as you began to talk, the things that you were saying now came from an internal mindset that it is, okay, this is money. What's money created to do? Make more. You put it, if you remember that movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
Correct.
When they ran all through all the money with the bank run and the whole thing, and Jimmy Stewart's got a mama dollar and a papa dollar, and he says, and if you want to live tomorrow, you need to go in there and have some babies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's really what investment really is.
Yeah. And that's, I love what you just said, because people, when you view it as an investment as opposed to an expense, that is a huge shift. Like everything in your life, if you view it as an investment and you're getting a return on that investment. For example, we're sitting in a room that has tremendous lighting and everything. If they didn't invest in their power bill, their electric bill, we wouldn't be sitting here. We'd be in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
in our cars, right?
We wouldn't be here.
Right.
I mean, we wouldn't be here.
And what a fabulous return on investment that we get to sit here. So when you think of things as an expense, you're thinking about scarcity. When you're thinking of things about investment, now investments have positive outcomes, mediocre outcomes, negative outcomes, right? So I have to understand, is the investment that I'm making getting the reward that I want from it? And can I reroute that capital into something that has a better outcome? And I always talk about it from an opportunity cost. I'm putting $1 this way into some kind of investment or strategy or whatever it is. Is the return that I'm getting adequate to what I want? And if I look at an alternative investment, there's an opportunity cost, right? Associated with that. And if I can measure the two outcomes, like for example, it's really close to tax time when we're recording this, right? Most people are going to go, I owe X. They're either going to get money back or they're going to owe a check to the IRS and they're regretting that.
Oh, that's happening pretty soon.
Yeah, really soon, right? But 90% of the people that I talk to have no idea whether they paid the right amount of taxes or not. And I love our government. I think the taxes that we pay provide us with the security, the safety, and the best opportunities in the world. But I should only pay them the exact amount that I owe them. I shouldn't pay them $1 more. If I pay them $1,000 more per year than I'm supposed to, I have a massive opportunity cost. And if I could cut that tax number and bring it back, that's a concept of opportunity cost, right? So wasted money is wasted money. You never get it back, right? Wasted thoughts are wasted thoughts, right? So it's sort of like the millionaire's mindset is they have a structural component to their brain that says, I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to save money, I'm going to invest in my future, regardless of the current circumstances. That's first, everything else is second, and they reverse engineer back into their lives.
Okay, so there's two things that come up in my mind at that time. Number one is, where do you see basically in your practice? Because it's very much like a doctor. You actually are taking your patient. You know exactly what they have, what they don't have. You understand their dis-ease.
Yeah,
Their dis-ease. You understand that, and you come up with a solution or their way forward.
Right.
And they now need to choose whether or not that they're going to go along with the operation and, deal with the tough things that come up at first, or they're not. So can you talk to us a little bit about a scarcity mindset versus an abundant mindset, which is a millionaire mindset?
Correct.
What's a scarcity mindset? Because I hear this talked about all the time. What is it?
Yeah, not that anybody, is going to have this problem, but here's what I hear frequently. I'm never going to accumulate enough money. I'm going to run out of money. I'm afraid of running out of money. I can't seem to get control over my budget. Everything keeps propping up in my plan and creating these issues, right? People come in years ago and they say, hey, can you build us a plan where we need $10,000 a month to retire? And back in the early days, I was 20-something years old when I started in the business. I'm like, yeah, I can build you a plan for $10,000 per month in retirement. What do you have? Here it is. Here's how we do it. And all of a sudden, 3-4 months later, the client's saying, oh, I need an extra $2,000. I need an extra $4,000. I need an extra $6,000. So I'm like, it wasn't $10K a month. It was more like $13,000 or $14,000 a month. That's a completely different plan. I would have never said retire. The problem is people kind of ignore the peripheral. They're not looking at the true essence. And there was a shift a whole bunch of years ago. I was sitting with a really great family clients. They're still clients. I've been clients for 25 years of my practice. And they were making, at the time, I think it was about $350,000. And they said they were living on $10,000. So we did the calculation on the taxes, and there was a gap of $100,000. And I'm like, I don't see the money ending up in a checking account, a savings account. Where's the money going? And a client looked at me across the table and goes, you're wrong. And I said, okay, go home, spend a month, figure out where the money goes. He called me about 3 days later and he goes, I did the budget over the weekend. Holy macaroni.
Yeah, right.
Right? And
yeah, you're sitting here and I'm waiting all of a sudden for when it's going to come, right?
Yeah, and it's like, he had no idea what was happening. That moment was a shifting moment in he accumulated so much more wealth after that because they became aware of what the return on their capital was, meaning it's not just rate of return on the investment. It's like, how much enjoyment am I getting from this?
Sure.
So that millionaire, multi-millionaire, that person understands the value and the enjoyment of wealth creation. And they're not victim to their circumstances. They are actually in charge of it. Because I believe if I really understand the power of money is that we get to orchestrate the way we live, the way we spend money.
Sure, absolutely.
We get to design it. And the millionaire is designing his life or her life or their life the way they want to design it. And they are in control, not victim. So that's the distinction. We are in control of our decisions.
Because a victim is not, And one of the things about life, I think that it's challenging for people is they think that if they don't address it, that it's going to go away.
Right.
Now, sadly, I mean, I had a long career in watching this in front of me.
Yeah.
One of the things that actually caused me to step aside was to look at people that I had known for 35 years, 38 years, or, and at the end, 40 years, and to see that there were those that embraced the things that were said, and then there were those who always knew better. They always know better.
My brother-in-law knows that you're wrong. Okay, your brother-in-law's a whatever. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, hey, your brother-in-law may be really a great guy, but let's let him change the oil because that's what he's really good at. I mean, he's a car mechanic. Yeah. He's not sitting there. So I talked to this person yesterday about this financial thing. Maybe you can help me.
Sure.
And that is, here it is that someone is making a wage. They're able to just get along. They're not going to change the world or the earth on its axis. They're not going to do that.
They're going to be in that role for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
because that's what they are stationed in.
You can say I did not have that mind shift until I was 42.
Interesting.
Because the way that you grow up begins to be the way that your kids grow up, if in fact that you're not watchful over it. But as I was talking to this individual, they're coming into an unexpected inheritance, which is about $80,000 is what they have.
Nice.
What do you think that a person who they just get along, but they're coming into $80,000, they have about maybe $15,000 in a 401k. What do they do with that 80 as they begin to break it down? What as a CFP, what does that CFP tell that person?
All right. So the certified financial planner, just to kind of put that buzz marker
just
out
to
there.
make sure
everybody
I was trying to be so cool, John. Yeah.
What is a certified financial planner? But the reality is, one of the things that you have to do is you have to get a snapshot of where you are, okay? And you have to be really truthful about where you are. We have this concept.
You have to be ready to be truthful.
You gotta dig in and say, I'm going to expose the pros and the cons of my plan. And we have this thing called the wealth curve blueprint, which looks at income, it looks at taxes, it looks at where am I currently saving money? Where's my insurance costs? Where's my lifestyle costs? Digs into the current assets, digs into the current liabilities, the current protection. And it says, okay, this is me. Now 80,000 shows up. Well, how is that 80,000 being received? Is it, an IRA where the person's going to have to pay some taxes? Is it after-tax money? Like, you're going to figure that out. But the idea is you need to look at the plan and say, the solution is not a product. And that's what the industry says. Oh, just invest all the money over here. Buy this product, buy this miracle product, and your life is going to be saved. And we talked about this last time. That person may have $80,000 worth of student loans. They may have a mortgage that, really good rate on one side, but of home equity line because of bad spending, okay? Maybe it makes sense to pay off that debt. But the problem is, and I learned this early on in my career, and these people have turned the tide in their life, but it took 3-4 times. They had this problem where they kept getting back into credit card debt, high earning people, and it was big. It was something that they couldn't take out of their income. And I solved the problem 2 to 3 times in 10 years of my first 10 years. The problem wasn't the credit card debt. It wasn't the spending. It was the relationship of how they thought about their money. So this guy gets this $80,000 with his family. If they repeat the same patterns, the Groundhog Day that you were discussing, the money's going to be gone. just like every other dollar that's going out of their plan. So you have to get really clear as here I am, here's where I want to go. This is what I really want. Do you really want that? And are you taking action in your plan to take the right steps to get to where you want to go? Or are you completely violating all of your internal goals and wants? And when you start thinking about that, most people are taking actions that are on the other side. It's actually eroding their money. The financial strategies that we're deploying are increasing taxes today and in the future. It's increasing costs and fees. It's decreasing protection, and it's reducing retirement income. And that's like the exact opposite of what you want to do. You want to be reducing taxes, reducing risk, reducing fees and costs in your strategy, okay?
Right.
And you want to focus on trying to figure out where the core problem is. And I joke about it because as a certified financial planner, it's a numbers game. It's not a numbers game. What I learned, and if I could go back in time and become a psychologist with a financial planning degree, that would be much more valuable because you need to get into the person's mindset as to what they really want to achieve.
The psychology of it almost becomes more important.
Right. And you were talking earlier about coaches and surrounding yourself with the great thing. And my dad did something really unique for me, is he brought me into the business and he taught me how to succeed in the business and how to fish as opposed to give me fish, right? That's a really great story.
Sure.
And that's something that if I didn't get that love and attention up front, I probably would have failed in the traditional settings of wealth management. If you don't get a certain amount of clients in in a certain time frame, you're out of the business, which promotes bad financial planning, bad investments, bad things, because it's about getting a result from the revenue side as opposed to getting the result from the client side. And he said, focus on the client, do the right thing, I'll help you out. So what I did about 8 years ago in my business, I started bringing on what I'm going to call young advisors, people that came out of another business. And I said, rather than being in a commission type thing where it's, eat what you kill, basically kind of concept, I said,
Sure.
We're going to pay you a base salary. You're going to work with me and other advisors that we have, and you're going to learn how to do this business. In 18 to 24 months in, my family, right, you're going to launch and become a full-fledged financial advisor with all the licenses and all these things. And what I realized is that doesn't happen in this wealth management space. And that's our shift, is those people become incredibly successful because they learned how to do it right out of the gate, right? And that's and that ripples through everything that everybody's doing across their entire life, which is, if you can get really clear and get on the same side of the table with an advisor and a business owner and a person who works for a company, and you understand what it is that they truly want to achieve, and if they really want that, and you're working with them over 15, 18, 36 months, 10 years. We have clients in the business. I've only been in the business for 34 years. We have clients that have been with the business for over 50 years.
Sure.
Those people have been amazing to us, and they feel the same way about us. This is a symbiotic relationship. This is something that we grow together, and you want somebody that's going to help you make good decisions, regardless of financial outcomes to the person. Like, we've given clients, take the money out of the investment, pay off that 15% credit card debt that's like the dark side, just pulling money from you, right? But let's have an agreement. Let's cut the cards up. Let's reduce the expenditures. Let's go into the budget. Let's get really clear. If you make $100,000 a year household income and you're on a fixed income per se, and that's what you do because you love what you're doing, you now need to work within those constraints of what that is. We could talk about, should you go to another career to make more money? But now you've made that decision to be a teacher, a fireman, or whatever it is. That's the way you're doing it. Let's build a plan based on that. And let's make that plan as successful as you
Right.
possibly can based on the variables and the assumptions and the benefits that you receive from working in that company. Let's make sure we've maximized everything in that plan.
So then, let's say a person is in a career, because people are going to school now, and when people are coming out of universities, they're coming out with, as you know, a tremendous amount of debt.
Yeah.
In the first thing. Secondly, is that they're under this false premise that when they get out of school, that they're going to be able to make huge amounts of money in the field of their 4-year endeavor,
Yeah.
or 8-year endeavor for that matter. And I know that probably somewhere near 70% of individuals come out of uni and they're not working in the very thing that they went to school for.
Correct.
My thing for them over the years was, look, college is good when what you need to do is to be certified for what you're doing. You have to have certain pieces
Yeah.
of paper. But as far as you getting your sea legs in business, in markets, in all those other things, college does not help with that.
No.
It doesn't help with that at all. So, risk tolerance, a person's risk tolerance, which just means, of course, how gutsy they feel or how confident that they feel, and how much can they take when they see things. Can they, the proverbial Kirsten Dunst Carvana commercial where she's going, hold.
Yeah.
Just so how well can a person do that? And I'm not sure, because it's one of the things I wanted to touch on. How important is it for the relationships that you have when it comes to your financial mindset?
I think it's really important. And the relationship, connecting with people that are going to bring you to the next level, right? They say you are the product of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. If I heard this from some really great people recently, is if you hang out with millionaires, you will be one. If you hang out with people that go to the bar on Friday nights and spend all their money, their paycheck on the weekend, you're going to be there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
To go back to the college thing, it's an investment in your future.
Mm-hmm.
But how you do it is really important. And I think the 17 or 18-year-old version of yourself doesn't really quantify and understand the consequences when they come out that door. And they're looking at college as something that is going to be, it's going to be a party, it's going to be this. I can't tell you the amount of kids that I hear that come home after the first year because they got a, triple secret probation because they never went to class. And they just forked over $70,000, right?
Yeah, and finally when you have to come home and face off with your parents because what they did was they got your grades in the mail when you didn't even know.
Well, you don't even get them today. They don't even give them to you today.
Right.
There's no access. Like, I have to ask. So what's interesting is if I'm 18 years old and I'm graduating from high school right now, and I'm looking at a career path, what I try to get these kids to understand is when I'm 30, if I run the path that I'm thinking and I have a certain amount of student loans, doctorate or whatever it's going to be, is that investment a good return, or should I deviate in that path and say, maybe I go to a 2-year community school, get great grades, it costs me almost nothing in certain places,
Sure.
and then shift into finish up my school at somewhere fantastic. And then what am I going to be? Am I going to be a physician? Am I going to be a nurse? Am I going to be something? Am I going to be a teacher? And there's literally embedded in the tax law now, there are ways to have forgiveness of that debt if you're working for a nonprofit institution that people don't even know about and nobody tells you about it. There's so many things that people don't know that exist that they're just simply going out and getting. There's scholarship funds out there that are looking for people that are quality to get scholarships. And they're like, oh, it's only $2,000. I'm not going to waste my time. Well, if I do it 10, 13, 14, 15, 20 times and it's $2,000 each, I just paid for school.
Yeah, right.
Right? So you need to get really creative on this. And then I question whether or not, am I learning what I'm supposed to be learning? My dad used to joke about, instead of putting $250,000 in school, let's buy a franchise. You run the franchise for $250,000 investment and use the proceeds from that to go to school. You're going to learn a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, right? Right? So
you're going to want to learn a lot more, too.
Right. But what the relationship comes down to, and this is what's really interesting, is the secret is you need to surround yourself with people that are going to not tell you yes.
Right.
They're going to give you pros and cons, and your job as the person receiving that is to be open to the feedback. Because if you're open to the feedback and say, let me put myself out into the future. There's the current John, and there's the 10 years from now John. I'm going to be somewhere 10 years from now, God willing, right? Is that where I want to be? Could I make some shifts right now and get to a much better, higher plane by being really clear on the impact and the consequences of those things?
Right.
And I think the key really comes down to the secret of the millionaire is not all, but a lot of them really love what they do. And they're not retiring from something. They're retiring to something.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
And that, like what you did for 40 years is now behind you, and you're not sitting around and doing nothing. You're actually on a new path, in a new journey.
Right.
That is a secret. And there's something that I keep coming back to. And I did a little research on it recently, and it kind of took me by surprise because it kind of correlated back to my current age. And I was looking at Mr. Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway.
Sure.
He's worth right now in his mid to early 90s, right? Over $100 billion. And he's still working. And I looked back and I said, when did he first become a billionaire? And it was like 1986, 1987. He was 55 or 56 years old, and he became a billionaire. He could have retired a very, very, very long time ago. But what did he retire from? He never did anything that he didn't like doing. All he focused was on what he loved doing, and he surrounded himself with people that were experts at what he didn't like doing, so he could focus on what he loved doing. And he's got a 35-year return. That's, if you do the math on $1 billion to $100 billion, it's over 14% compounded annually.
Right.
And that's his secret, because he never got out of the game. He was always intrigued with what he was doing. And he kept shifting and moving stuff away from himself. And you see so many examples of that. I mean, the billionaires aren't billionaires because they wanted to retire.
Right.
They want to do something powerful.
Yeah, and I think that there's a real key to something that you said, was that he actually surrounded himself with people that would do things that he didn't like to do.
Yeah.
Which is really one of the things that all of us are kind of, parroting to everyone else, is that, I said it for a long, long time, and that is that you do what you must until you get to do. You have a privilege to be able to do what you want.
Right.
At first, Warren could see through his challenges and understand that he himself wasn't cut out for his friend, that, the fellow that just passed
Charlie,
away.
yeah.
Yeah, Charlie.
Munger.
He just passed away.
99, still working.
Yeah, right. And you sit and you look at these guys and you think, my goodness, they've dedicated themselves to to wealth to the point to where they got to do it where it was completely and utterly off the charts.
Right. And it's a strategic byproduct. It's not.
Oh, yeah,
They
absolutely.
weren't doing it for the wealth anymore. They were doing it for the love and the enjoyment.
Sure.
And that's the secret that I find. If you can find love in what you do and get rid of what you hate doing and do more of what you love doing, that's powerful.
Well, it's actually the way that we have kind of talked about the millionaire and his mindsets all over the place. That we talked about how that this is a mind thing before it's a life thing. We talked about how a person in their soundness of thought comes to a place to where they realize that their future is really what they're focusing on, not their present.
Correct.
Or
their past and being worried
yeah,
about crap that happened yesterday.
Man,
Who the hell cares?
Yeah, because people either front load or rear load their lives. You know, they do it. Enjoy today, but you're going to be miserable, and people are going to have to, stop by the corner and give you 50 cents.
Right. And I hear this all the time where, I'm going to invest in the market and it's going to go down. And now,
great.
and I'm not going to do it.
Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy then, isn't it?
Yesterday was down big. Today's up today, right? That's part of the ride. That's normal, right? Not just because you put the money in today, and they have these weird connections of why they can't do things. Because it's when I get to the table, it's going to go to hell in a handbasket. No, because you don't have a plan.
Sure.
You're following somebody else's
That's why
plan.
you're just depositing your money for someone else.
Yeah, you're following somebody else's
plan.
plan. Create your plan, design your plan, live your plan, do what you love doing. If you can't find love in what you're doing, go invest in yourself to do something different. Yeah. That's a much better, I've said to people, I had this great, one of my son's friends came in to the business, ton of student debts, bunch of kids. I said, you got a great plan. The problem's you have the wrong job. And he got pissed at me. And he left. And he did some stuff with us, but he was mad. And he came back like a year and a half later. He said, you hit me so hard that day. Ivy League education, earning under $100,000 per year, $250,000 worth of debt. Couldn't get out of his own way.
Sure.
And he's like, I fought you so hard. And there was an identity that he had that I basically knocked him in the head.
Sure.
Took him a couple of months. He went out and tripled his income. Got a wonderful job with unbelievable opportunity that was in concert with his skills. He was living well below his skills for some crazy reason. And he needed somebody to say, wake up.
Well, yeah, and that's really the very thing that Luminary is all about, and that is relationship capital. It's that you had the capital with him. He got a little upset. He went away, but he came back. Yeah. And that the coming back is the success of the story.
Yeah.
And that relationship that you had with that guy brought him to a place to where he was open to hear what you said.
Right.
And even though it took that 18 months for that to go from his anger to his realization that you were right the whole time, that was capital.
Yeah.
And you expended that capital because you were willing to put your relationship with that fella on the line in order to be able to help him and to really save his life.
And don't invest money with us. Invest it in yourself first, then come back later on.
Yeah.
When we look at our relationships with our clients, and you look at your relationships with your professionals, this is a team approach. This is not, I know more than you do and you do what I say. Right? This is about, what do you want to achieve? What's the mix? What's the blueprint like? Mm-hmm. Well, the blueprint's really, you want to build a house on the side of a mountain and you're using a foundation that's based upon building a beachfront house. That's completely different foundations, right?
For sure.
So let's build the foundation. Let's build the tools that are going to get us here. And let's talk about what is it that we need to do in your plan that's going to get you to where you want to go. And let's be together growing that. We're going to make great decisions. We're going to make mediocre decisions, but you don't know the outcome of those decisions until you look back, right?
Oh,
and
that's
looking
the
back
truth.
is a waste of time to say, oh, that was a bad decision. And now I can't move forward because I made a bad decision. That is the worst thing that anybody could ever do. You got to learn from them and move on, right? And capitalize on the lesson. That's what a millionaire
right.
does.
Yeah.
And then if you go back to Mr. Buffett and you look under the hood of Berkshire Hathaway, and I'm not endorsing Berkshire Hathaway, right? Whatever. But what he did is he invested in a lot of businesses that had really strong cash flow in a structure that allowed it to limit the taxation.
Mm-hmm.
And that structure allowed him to grow and compound wealth with minimal taxation. Taxes are the greatest destructor of wealth.
Yeah.
Right? And he secretly figured that out and grew it, and has all of those businesses have tremendous passive income. I mean, he bought Apple when it was on its knees.
Right.
It was a value play stock. It wasn't a growth stock, but it's a cash cow for him at this.
Yeah.
at
This particular point.
Yeah.
And I think that is where that this man is, that this individual and every person needs to be that way. You and me and everyone else. We have to become unflinching to the society and the culture that we live in right now.
Correct.
We have to realize that when we finally get to that point in life where we could use the income to help someone else, use the income for us to spend the rest of our days, sitting on the beach, drinking iced tea or doing whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
But when we come there, we have to have someone slap us to a place to where we're thinking that where they're able to get our eyes off of what we presently face and onto the kind of pleasure and enjoyment that we could have in the future.
And now. And the key is when you're making decisions to accumulate wealth, to open a business, to go out on your own, to go down that avenue, where you hold that wealth, where you own it, the structures, the trust, the ideas that you are using, people have there's a successful amount of money that's over, he's got $100 billion. I don't know the minutia of how he owns it all, but there's a big tax coming at the end of that, right? 45, 50% of that wealth will go to the government in the form of estate taxes. So when you're designing your future, it's not just about where you are now, fixing the messes, but it's strategically structuring the plan. So where you're going, is this going to be, do you believe this is going to be the lightning bolt that changes your entire future? Or are you going to just be the guy who works for the big company, gets his stock options or gets the 401k and retires? Those are two different plans. Right. And you want to build the plan.
Very, very, very.
You want to build the plan strategically so that you're maximizing the benefits you have available to you. You're minimizing the expenses, the taxes, the costs, and you're strategically putting that money in a place where you can enjoy it and still pass it to those who you want, not to the corporations like the nursing homes and all those wonderful places. Right. You want to protect it as much as you possibly can.
Sure.
Because when you look at the slippery slope of wealth, and you look at some of the richest families in the world around the 1900s, not many of them are still here because of erosion principles, right? So you have to be aware of what's really happening.
Right, I think.
And people ignore all that stuff.
Right.
And that's macro planning, right? You have to look at where you are, where the threats are, if you achieve where you want to go, or when you achieve where you want to go. What are the new issues that you're going to have? And can I take a step today to sidestep it and prevent those issues from happening?
Let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the financial aspect and kind of the market understanding and all of the things that a person needs to do in order to get there. Can you give me a a short path. It's almost like, look at all the things that you've done
Yeah.
that you finally realized, even after you were down this road
Every day.
of finance
Yeah.
every day. But there's a lot more that goes along with this that's not financial.
Right.
So what could you say to people that would make it that's like, hey, take care of yourself, make sure you're healthy, do all how does a person navigate these troubled waters?
In the book, I talk about a beautiful balance. That's chapter 6, okay? Chapter 3 is about savings rate, which is the psychology of the saver versus the non-saver, okay? I've come back, if I could rewrite the book today, which I probably will, okay, in version 2.0 or 3.0, okay, is there are certain macros that you have, kind of like a diet, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you do the right elements of that, you focus on savings rate, you focus on tax reduction today and in the future, you focus on maximizing your income. If you're a business owner, oh my God, what you can do inside the tax laws and those benefits are tremendous. So you got to go through, you got to figure out where the macros are in your plan. And it's the business, it's the savings rate, it's the taxes, it's that lifestyle number and all the outflows that are going on. It's how you have your current assets, how you're protected when that event, when the market does fall 50% over an extended period of time, which it has done numerous times, right?
Sure.
Am I prepared for that mentally? Do I have backups? Do I have liquidity in other places, right? Do I have the right protection? Do I have the right life insurance, disability, long-term care? Do I have the right wills and trusts to protect the money when it goes? Do I own my businesses the right way? You have your own individual macros, but there are those key elements that are about 10 things that if you put those 10 things that I just discussed in proper alignment, meaning the savings rate is right, the tax rate is right, the house is right. I see people all the time, 40% of their income goes to their house. You're never going to save any money. The
Sure.
macros are wrong. You're not going to grow into the house. Some people do, some people don't, right? If you get those macros right and you focus on the macros and you do the work quarter by quarter by quarter, by month, whatever it is, you will arrive at a place that you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. You're like, oh my God, how did I get there?
All of a sudden it's just there.
It's just there. And you're like,
You know.
oh my God, this was the secret that I didn't know, that if I had known this, and I knew it, like I knew this 34 years ago because I
Sure.
trained with some fantastic masters, but I didn't know it,
Right.
right?
I knew it, but I didn't know it.
I didn't know it. I didn't own it. I didn't experience it. And one of the greatest things, I'm a business owner. I've been a serial entrepreneur. I own multiple businesses. I own things, rental properties. I own a whole bunch of stuff, right? But my secret is I've been in the shoes of good and bad, meaning, and I don't consider being in credit card debt a bad thing, which most people do.
Yeah, I don't.
I look at it as, hey, that vehicle gave me an opportunity to get through a difficult time or something, right? But what you learn in it, while you're in it and how you get out of it, is what makes you special, and it makes your plan so much better. So I have to get the kernels of wisdom and capitalize on them as I go forward. And if I keep getting the same pattern back in my life, that means I haven't learned something in my plan, right? So figure out what it is. Get with a professional, get with a mindset coach, get with somebody
Right.
that's going to fix your plan because you have the power. Everybody has the power to be fab. I mean, we live in the United States. This is the greatest country in the world. People come here with nothing and create massive fortunes with nothing.
That's absolutely true.
People have been here for generations after generations that never get anything. It's about the internal struggle, and can you figure out your stuff and go after it?
Boy, that is so true.
That's my secret.
Yeah, that's and a secret it is.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because it's a secret. It's only a secret to those who don't even want to listen to it at this point.
Correct.
But thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Let me just kind of finish up and tell everyone this. This is so valuable. These are understandings that each and every one of us have to go through. There are little signposts on the road to success if you listen to everything that we had to say today. Just remember, millionaire mindset is where you're going, and millionaire status is what you'll have. And this is Luminary Talks.
Thank you for having me. This was fantastic.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.